John Petrucci, JP, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, great to talk to you ahead of your triumphant return to Australia next year. I believe it's your day off in America right now, in the middle of a tour.
Yeah, it is. We're just about the last week and a half or so of the fall run of the Parasomnia tour that we started a couple months ago, and I'm in lovely Chicago on a day off.
So, would you say you've been happy with the response from the Parasomnia album, which you've been playing every night over there?
Yeah, it's been so great. We when we recorded the album, and finished it up. I mean, it was a while back. It was like probably a couple of years ago. It's coming up on, and so to be able to actually finally, play it live for people that they've had a chance to digest it since the record came out in February of this year. We have a great production, and it's great to finally present it the way that we envisioned it, and the response has been fantastic. It's been really, really cool.
It's great to hear. Of course, according to the press release, when you come to Australia, it'll be closer to the 40th anniversary kind of fan favorites show that you did last year at the start of this year.
Right. Yeah, we're still kind of, figuring out exactly what style show that we're going to bring there. But obviously, we haven't visited Australia yet and done the 40th anniversary portion of it. So it could be some sort of combination of the two, but we're sort of still working that out.
Yeah, like I've been talking to some of the fans over here. Some
Yeah,
of them, like I know you did Octavarium on the first leg, and some of them really want a
sure,
change of seasons.
sure,
And then
right.
some people have asked maybe to change up some of the Parasomnia songs rather than just Night Terror and Midnight Messiah, maybe one or two of the others as well.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thankfully, with Mike Portnoy back in the band, it's not something I have to spend too much time worrying about because he'll lose sleep over coming up with perfect set lists for all of the shows in
Yeah, because
Australia.
absolutely, yeah. Well, because the last time I guess you were in Australia was also the last time he was in Australia doing his solo thing. So there were
Oh,
kind of two, yeah. So I think you guys were here in one part. You just did two shows in one part of the year, and he did his thing at the end of the year. But of course, now this is really the first time you guys have been back and doing a full run of shows across the country for the most part since 2009. So I'm sure he'll probably be taking that into account. And even though you guys did play a change of seasons last time, that was a totally different era in a way, totally different band. So
right.
it'd be yeah. So but there's plenty of songs, and of course it's it'll still be a big production. And also you've got the live album coming out in November. So I guess you
That's
don't
right.
want it to yeah. So you don't want it to be too much the same as exactly what's on that, do you?
Right, exactly. And I think because there's a couple of things. One is because the tour has been going on for quite a while now. It'll be over a year since we started when we hit Australia. So lots of incarnations of the types of sets we have been doing have been out. From the first shows on the 40th anniversary tour to the summer festival set list to the Parasomnia change of seasons show. So it's sort of like we need to give places that we haven't been to yet. Um, Not only in Australia, but like in all of Asia, and Japan and Korea and uh, India and places like that. I mean, we haven't played any of this stuff yet, so it'll have to be some sort of amalgamation of what we've been doing, to get because it'll be our only run through um, the region, as opposed to in the U.S. and Europe we went through twice. So it'll have to definitely be some sort of combination of the two.
Yeah,
The other thing
and
I'm excited about is I think it's been a while since we sort of hit what I consider to be like the major touring stops along the coastal cities of Australia, where I think this is the first time we're doing that in a while. Like, I mean, maybe the last time we went, we might have only played like two cities or something like that.
Yeah, I saw you in 2014, and
Yeah,
I didn't catch the 2017 shows, but yeah,
yeah.
that was basically just Melbourne and Sydney in the middle of an Asian
Right,
run, and so
right,
this time,
exactly.
yeah, and those will be the two big arena shows. But then you got a lovely little theatre in Adelaide and a theatre in Brisbane as well. And I know a few
Yeah,
people. I know a few people are travelling over from Perth, which is all the way on the other side of town,
right.
other side of the country. But yeah, it's as close to a full run as I guess is economically possible in the current climate of touring.
So I guess I missaid that a little bit. I should look at my touring schedule closer, but I'm assuming based on what you're saying, Perth is not in the equation for this one. You know?
Unfortunately, yeah,
Ah,
but
gotcha.
yeah, and I know, and it's a shame because I know the two guys from the Dream Theater fan club in Australia, and they're both
Yeah.
based in Perth. So I think one's going to
Oh man.
Adelaide. Yeah, one's
All right.
going. I think one's going to Sydney, one's going to Adelaide, and one's coming to Melbourne. So it's,
Yeah.
but you know, us DT fans, we're fanatical. We'll take what we can get.
Gotcha. Right. Well, you know how rock and roll touring goes. It all depends on the promoters and the offers and the routing and all the details that go into it. Um, one of the things that you sometimes see people comment on it is being upset that we're not going to a certain region or a certain place or a certain city. And why don't you do this? Why don't you? And there's so many. It's not like the band is saying, "Hey, I don't want to go there." Like skip that part, but go here. It's just it's all in the hands of our the people who book the shows and represent us to try to get the best possible version of our show into the cities and venues that we play in. And unfortunately, that means that sometimes um, we're
Exactly.
not in certain cities.
Exactly. It's a lot like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole in some places. I think,
Right.
yeah, like you only have like a 10-day window, and if you'd have to take a day off between shows, then you got to make the call: do we do Perth or do we do Adelaide? And also, like you say, I think you're bringing it's a big show that you're bringing out, whereas in the past it's just been like squeezing into theatres. I think in Melbourne, actually, you're playing at the smallest of the three venues in the tennis centre. So this will be
Okay.
that'll be a big arena show as opposed to
Nice.
I guess theatres on a couple of the other things. A couple of the other venues. I haven't got
Cool.
a hell of a lot of time, so let's move on to I guess gear because that's I guess one of the big things. So, have you changed up your rig all that much in the last kind of 3 or 4 years since the tour started and since the previous touring cycle?
Yeah, well, we did build up a few new rigs. Once we start at the beginning of this tour cycle, which was started in October of last year, and a lot of the equipment is the same. I mean, I'm still, of course, playing through my signature JP2C Mesa Boogie heads. I'm using the Fractal Axe effects for the effects, but the biggest change that we did to get kind of nerdy about it is that we added in a mixer and a looper so that the effects from the Axe effects, and also I have an old school 2290 back in the rig, which I used to use forever. Um, but when I'm not using any of those effects units, they're not actually engaged in the signal. So there's always the dry send from my amplifiers giving the pure guitar into amp into speaker, because that's my favorite thing. That's how I record. That's the purest sound to me. And when you go through any kind of effects unit, especially digital effects units, as you know, there's like a conversion process that happens. And sometimes, in the case of like some older pieces of equipment, it actually adds something cool to it, just the way a Neve, channel strip would add something cool when you're recording. But sometimes it adds something that you don't necessarily want all the time, that takes away from that purity. So with the mixer involved, I'm always able to have the pure guitar into amp signal going, and then I mix in the amount of effects from those units that I mentioned. And so that's probably the biggest change. The biggest reason why we changed anything was because of that.
Right. So there's almost, so it's like one channel is like pure, is the pure guitar sound, and then you've
Yeah.
almost got a separate channel just for effects and extra stuff that's going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's working out great. I mean, the guitar tone's killer. You know, of course, I'm playing my signature Ernie Ball Music Man guitars, which they just one is more incredible than the next. You know, they just I keep working together with them. We keep coming up with incredible finishes for the Majesty and the JP15, and of course, this 6, 7, and 8 strings. So we have a lot of guitars on the road, a lot of different tunings. You know, we mentioned the types of sets we're doing from the 40th anniversary in Parasomnia, and you have a range from standard 6, 7, and 8 to D tunings and C and drop Ds and baritones and drop B flats and everything. So we have to cover all of those guitars and have backups for all of them. So I think we have like 20 guitars on the road with us.
Yeah, and I guess that'll be the question as well: is how much of that can you bring over here? Because this, yeah,
Yeah. Well, we're going to bring all of it over. The other tricky thing, and again, this is getting into the weeds of what maybe uh, your audience doesn't really care about, but in order to do this type of tour throughout Asia, different parts of Asia and Australia, we actually have to send over 2 rigs. So we have an A rig and a B rig, and they're duplicates basically. So it's a lot of gear that is shipping and flying around in order for us to be able to literally go from Indonesia to Dubai to, Adelaide, whatever it may be. So, yeah, it's a lot of guitars, a lot of amps, a lot of drums. Crazy.
yeah, yeah. Well, so that's all the gear side, and then that's before you even get into the playing side. And I know you've spoken in the past about how Dream Theater songs aren't exactly things that are just stick in your head. Like you've almost got to relearn a whole bunch of
Yeah.
songs before every tour. So I guess
Right.
so. How much prep are you still practicing? Like in the middle of a tour, or do you still try and get as much as you can before you go on the road?
It's really before we go on the road. My theory when I'm preparing for a tour is, as we're headed into rehearsals, I want to be show ready on the first day of rehearsals, and I'll get to that point at home. I've been like, putting my head down practicing, and I'll walk up from my man cave and tell my wife, Raina, okay, I'm show ready. Like if the show's tomorrow, I think I could do it. So that's my headspace. And there's all different degrees of that. Learning a song like A Change of Seasons, which is a huge part of our history, but we haven't played in a really long time, or even Octavarium. When you first listen to it, it's like you kind of a bit intimidated, like, oh my God, I don't even remember how I did this. But it's funny, as you start playing it, it starts to come back. And that muscle memory starts to kick in. I think one of the bigger challenges is trying to play new songs live that you never actually played before, if you think about it. Like, so the whole Parasomnia record, when we go in to write a record, we're together, we're in the studio, we're jamming, we're putting things together, we're recording right away. 5, 6 months later, we have a completed album. But we never really have actually played any of the songs together. Sometimes we record in sections or pieces or whatever, but it's not like the songs are all rehearsed and we're ready to perform them live. So that's the bigger challenge, because then I have to go back and really try to rack my brain. Like, how did I play this? What's the best way to do it live? Now let's try it together as a band. And this also goes for our production team, our lighting director and our laser director and our sound. Like, they have to all of a sudden, like, you know, digest all this new music that's not under their hands yet, you know. So that's probably the bigger challenge. It's nice being at this point in the tour where the Parasomnia show feels like second nature now. It feels great, feels comfortable. You know, playing a song like the Shadow Man incident or A Change of Seasons like feels the same. It's that same level of comfort and familiarity. So that's cool.
Yeah, so you're pretty much locked in, and you could pretty much just go on to autopilot from the start of the show to the end of the show.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great feeling to have because it kind of like it frees up your ability to, I think, be more in the moment, you know, with the audience. You know, live music is it's an interchange between the musicians and the audience. And like I know for me, like at the start of a tour, it's really hard to like get out of your head because you're still trying to, you're not, you know, even though you're show ready, as I said before, you're still thinking a lot what's happening, not only within the song but as the set is going. You know, how did these songs transition? How are we doing this again? What was the count in for this? Was there a video introduction? I don't know, but you know, there's like a lot of variables that you're thinking about, and it pulls you out of like being in the moment of the live show. So I love being in this position where I could just play, you know, not really have to look at the guitar too much and just look out in the audience and perform. And, you know, it's a really great experience. A lot more fun.
Yeah, and so on the physical side of things, what kind of warm ups and breakdowns? Not so much on the guitar side, but just in keeping yourself healthy and fit. What are you doing these days?
Yeah. Well, these days, I'm trying to keep my weight down from where it was a few years ago, probably dropped like 25 pounds or so. So I'm more lean, but, you know, keeping still the workouts that I do to stay fit. So it's to me, it's a different look, but it's kind of feels better. And there's a lot more like range of motion exercises and stuff like that. And part of that is like, you know, adjusting my routines. Like as you get older, you have to kind of change up. You know, I'm not the same guy working out in the gym as I was when I was 35, you know? Um, so that's really important. And I think it's also the timing of how you do things on a show day. That's the number one thing for me. You know, when you eat so that you know, you're fully digested before the show, or how you warm up, whatever. I tend to these days not go crazy, not go overboard with warming up. You know, maybe just review a couple of hard parts and a couple of solos and do some light warm ups and then hit the stage. And I think that's better for, you know, we're playing 3 hour shows. So that's better for stamina, and for feeling like fresh and not over extending yourself physically because, you know, you could do that. Like our tour during the summer was insane. And at the same time, we were doing this 2 month summer tour over in Europe. I was preparing for my JPGU 5.0, which is my John Petrucci's Guitar Universe camp. It was right on the heels of that. So I had to prep all my solo stuff and all the stuff. So it was like playing a lot. And
Yeah, I think
maybe like hand becomes an issue. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I think you've got enough stuff to do when you're actually playing, and you play enough that
Right.
you can just when you're not playing, you can just completely decompress. Uh,
Exactly. That's
yeah,
really important. I think that, you know, it's something that I've learned about this type of touring is that, and it's the same is true for working out and exercise. The rest days are just as important as the playing days. You know, giving yourself a chance to like regenerate, you know, those little finger muscles or whatever, you know,
yeah.
there's definitely such a thing as like over playing, over practicing. You know, I know way too many people that have run into hand problems and this and that. And so those rest days are really, really important.
No, thank you so much, John. There's 1,000 more questions I'd love to ask you, but I know you've got limited time. The one thing I will just ask on behalf of my boss Greg, who's a regular at the NAMM show every
Oh, cool.
year. I just wanted to know, I guess, are you planning on being there next year?
Yeah, that's a good question. Possibly. I know our tour starts right on the heels of NAMM, right on the edge of that. So I'm not sure if I will be able to, but that tell him I'm still, yeah, I'm just not sure.
Yeah, no,
Possibly.
well, it's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
Being in, I guess, in Chile, San Diego, and being in sunny Dubai or India or yeah, just the whole Asia Pacific region. And we're really looking forward to having you back. So thank you so much for your
Awesome.
time, JP. And
Great. You're very welcome. Nice talking to you, and I'm looking forward to finally coming back to your part of the world. It's going to be a lot of fun.
thanks so much.
Cool, man.